Hello, and welcome to the State of the University Address. My name's Eric Larson, and I'm the president of the Student Association here at Binghamton University. I'd like to start off, though, by thanking President Stenger. You'll notice that this is the first time that the State of the University Address has been given mid-semester, which allows for a lot more people to attend. But that's not the only first. This is the first time a student has been welcomed to speak here at the State of the University Address. And I feel that this is a strong gesture by the university of their eagerness to include students in our shared growth. Considering there are so many students here, I would like to take a moment to address you all directly. Just this past semester, I've had the most humbling and eye-opening experience serving as your president. I've been able to see firsthand exactly what a campus filled with dedicated and resourceful students is capable of accomplishing. And it's certainly an incredible volume of things. But the fundamental thing that we're looking at here is we've got a campus that is thriving. And because of this fortunate title that I hold, I'm able to have this privilege to come here and speak to you about all of the things that you have been able to accomplish. So as just a quick example, we've got the bike share program just opened this semester. Now, it's not the first bike share program in university history, but it is a special bike share program in the sense that every single stage of development was done by students, from conceiving the idea to planning it, pitching it, designing it, building it, maintaining it. Every single step along the way was done by eager students ready to fill a need that they saw on this campus. But perhaps the most visible service that we offer as students to this campus are the blue buses. The OCCT blue buses are, in fact, the largest student-run bus company in the country. And every single day, dozens of our students drive thousands of their peers across the greater Binghamton region, and every day we strive to make OCCT the best service it can be. Through conjoined efforts with the university, we've been able to expand our fleet and increase our service, in addition to making our service smarter by allowing for a new app that will be coming out shortly for live tracking of where our buses are and how full they are in real time. But we do more than just transport ourselves around campus and stuff like that. We also throw pretty good concerts as well. Just this past semester, SAPB, our programming board, threw the biggest concert this university has hosted in almost a decade. It is not an easy thing to sell out that event center, and we were able to succeed there. But in addition to that, the programming board won't stop there. We're going to press on and try and make Spring Fling once again another anticipated milestone for our entire community, as well as a proper send-off for our soon-to-be alumni. We want to keep Spring Fling a nationally recognized top university festival. But I think at the core of what I'm trying to get at here is that there's something special about how Binghamton treats its students. Binghamton entrusts its students with more responsibility, and it is precisely because of that that we have more opportunity. What drew me and a good portion of the students here to Binghamton was the price. It's an affordable school, it's nationally recognized as a top-ranked value institution, but what kept me here were those very opportunities. And I eagerly anticipate my future because I'm confident in the value of my degree and experience. And that's a good question for all of us to be asking ourselves with some regularity. What gives a university degree its value? Is it admission statistics? Yeah. Construction projects on campus? That too. And Binghamton has been able to grow both bigger and better at the same time. Normally you get one or the other, not both. So we're going to keep on doing that, but there's something more proactive that each of us can do in order to make sure that we add value to our degrees. Each year, the Binghamton student alumni base grows stronger, and on a state, national, and global level, we are showing the world exactly how valuable a Binghamton degree can be. What I challenge you to do, because it's very easy for all of us here in this room to share in that benefit. What we need to do is to actively get involved and take pride in the things that we accomplish here on this campus. Because when you take pride in your work, what you're really doing is helping yourself. Now, the challenges associated with change can be disorienting, but I urge you all to not lose sight of the resources that Binghamton boasts. The Student Association here strives every day to create a more cohesive and collective environment on campus through our student groups, our services, as well as through communication with faculty and staff. Our faculty and staff are second to none. They're fantastic. They have helped thousands of students achieve their career goals and advance the reputation of this university through the research that they've provided. But perhaps one of the easiest resources that we have to overlook would be our administrators. Binghamton University students enjoy nationally unparalleled accessibility to our top administrators. Let's put it this way. You'd be hard-pressed to find some other university president that you could have a casual conversation with during a morning jog or rub shoulders with while you're pulling fruits and vegetables out of the campus garden. You can be fairly certain that here at Binghamton, the university administrators not only hear your concerns, but they also act on them. And to talk to you a little bit more about what our university administrators have been up to, I present to you Vice President for Student Affairs, Brian Rose.
Thank you, Eric, and good afternoon. I need to start this morning by sharing a little bit of sad news. The university learned this morning that our fourth president, Clifford D. Clark, passed away. President Clark served here between 1975 and 1990, and in something that's very well connected to what President Stenger will talk about later this afternoon, was particularly noted for his dedication to the university's graduate program development and our diversity programs. So I'd like to ask all of you to please join me, bow your heads in a moment of silence to remember President Clifford D. Clark. Thank you. Okay, now on to some of the formalities of the program and what I'm here to do today. First, you hear this a lot at the beginning of any program. Cell phones. Okay, you will have an opportunity to share with us your great new ringtone in the reception after the program this afternoon. We'll have some cookies. And I'm addressing this primarily to the older folks in the audience, right? I know students, you don't actually use phones to call anybody, so I expect yours to already be on silent. Technology is our friend. A quick story that has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm here to do today. I was communicating with our staff about our new marketplace area, and I wanted them to make sure that our televisions are set to some interesting programming this weekend. And so I wanted to text them to tell them to make sure they had on the Super Bowl. I put Super Bowl as all one word, and it was spell check corrected to be Superb Owl. So please go to the Union on Sunday night. It'll be interesting to see what's on television. Next, I want to ask your help in acknowledging my colleagues. As I'll explain in a few minutes, we used to do this program very differently than we're doing this afternoon. It would be a presentation not only of the president, but of also the vice presidents of the university. So I'd like to acknowledge and ask your help in welcoming our senior staff. First, Executive Vice President and Provost Donald Neiman. Our Vice President for Administration, James Van Voorst. Vice President for Research, Bhagat Samakia. Our Interim Vice President for Advancement, Becky Benner. And our Director of Athletics, Patrick Elliott. Well, my real role this morning is to formally introduce the Binghamton State of the University presentation, to explain the format, how it's different from what we've done here for several years, and also to explain the rationale behind the change. Now, it's relatively common for universities to hold some type of event where the president, in the history of governmental leaders at all levels, delivers a State of the University address. Many schools have the event at the beginning of the academic year. Some create an opportunity for the address during an alumni reunion or a homecoming weekend, and there are those like us that select this time of year because it best aligns with political or budgetary cycles. What Binghamton's been doing has actually been a little bit different than a traditional State of the University address. For several years, the senior administration of the university had an event that we used to refer to as the University Forum. And here's what would happen. We'd gather in Lecture Hall 1. President would give some remarks about the overall direction of the university. Then each and every one of the vice presidents would present about programs and initiatives that were happening in their areas. There's some advantages to that approach. A lot of information was shared. We're all showing off. Look how much we do. The provost would tell us about the great new entering class of students, thousands of students, even some not from Long Island, with SAT scores that, the entire entering class had perfect SAT scores, which somehow only ranks us 6th nationally. So Vice President of Research would talk about our incubators and our pre-incubators, lots of incubators. Maybe we'll be the one that will finally solve the chicken and egg question. And of course, our Vice President of Administration would tell us about a new way we found to charge our deer for parking. So you get the idea. There were some downsides to that format, though. First, it was god-awful long, right? We were happy when we got it down from 3 hours to 2.5. And while in theory we were prepared to take questions, you can imagine what the rest of the audience would have done if after all of that time somebody actually asked a question. So, speaking of the audience, the traditional time for the University Forum, as Eric alluded to a few minutes ago, was an early week in January before the university was back in academic session. So it was actually President Stenger who had this wildly innovative idea: what if we discuss the state of the university at a time when our faculty and students are on campus to hear it? So that explains why the change in date. And we were hoping and glad to see that we received a larger attendance, and so we needed a new venue. Now, as you've likely already figured out by this point, the address will be given only by President Stenger. That has the advantage of efficiency, certainly, and legitimately leaves time for your questions. The President will talk about our accomplishments over the past year or so, and then also talk about the road ahead. I assure you that he invites what he calls your respectful skepticism through your questions. And you'll notice microphones on the side of each aisle. And so when he's done, we hope you will engage President Stenger in your questions about all of the programs and initiatives that he'll announce and discuss during the address. Beyond just efficiency, though, there's something symbolic in the adoption of a more traditional model for this address. While it wouldn't be accurate or fair to depict the old Binghamton as a heavily siloed organization, it's long been a collegial community. Nonetheless, the notion of several vice presidents, each describing their own vision and the work of their individual areas, evinces something less than a complete unity of purpose. What President Stenger has done in his 2 years with us is to galvanize our work around a single, simple, and powerful vision to be the premier public university, period. We work together with that single purpose in mind, and we therefore speak with one voice. So guests, my colleagues in administration, faculty, staff, and students, please welcome the voice of Binghamton University, President Harvey Stenger.
Thank you for coming. Can you hear me okay? Good. Welcome. Definitely a good turnout today. I appreciate people coming here. I want to welcome and thank our elected officials in the area who have arrived on time and are sitting in the front row here. Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo. The Town of Union Supervisor Rose Sotak. The new mayor of the city of Binghamton, Richard David. And our new partner, the mayor of Johnson City, Greg Deemy. So thank you for coming. And today is the first day of the new year in China, the Lunar New Year, and it is the year of the horse. And the horse, as symbolized in this new year fashion, is to tell us that we are in a year of fast competitive strength. Certainly that means you can grow faster, that the wind is at your back when you're the horse. And to recognize those of you who do come from China, Xing Yan Kuai La, which I hope means Happy New Year. But if I had to sum up the whole situation at Binghamton University in just one word, if I had to pick just one word, I'd say it's amazing. What we can do here as a university, relatively small university, relatively young university, what we can do here, we've shown people in the last 2 years that it's incredible, and certainly it's amazing. It takes a lot of people, though, thousands and thousands of people to make this happen, and certainly it starts with our students. The 16,000 students that we have on this campus and spread across the region as well, commuting from downtown Binghamton and commuting from Johnson City. But 16,000 students in this community makes a big difference on our community as well. And when we do the economic assessment, we realize that we have a $1.2 billion per year economic impact on New York State. We're important, not just as a place to get an education, but we're an important place for the community. We're an important hirer, and we're an important place to gather. In most typical state of whatever addresses, you have to tell them what happened, tell them what might prevent you from doing something in the future, and then tell them what you want to do in the future, hoping that those challenges can be addressed. So I'll do the same thing, but the way I'll do it is I will address it within the structure of the roadmap to premier document that we prepared last year. I thought it would be best to keep reminding people that we wrote a strategic plan. We, the faculty, the students, the community, we wrote a strategic plan last year. We called it the Roadmap to Premier, and it had 5 strategic priorities. And we wanted to make sure that today we re-emphasize those 5 strategic priorities because underneath each one of them we've made accomplishments. And so categorizing the progress in 2013 underneath them certainly made sense, and we've made incredible progress underneath these. Our first strategic priority is to have our graduate and research programs to be accelerated, that we want to make sure that these are path-breaking opportunities for research and creative activities. And first, before you start talking about the things you did in just the past year, you have to recognize that hey, we're really good at this. We are already outstanding in this area. And so when you start to think about, well, tell me some things. Tell me some of the folks out there who are doing great things already. It comes to mind quickly, almost off the top of my head, dozens and dozens of faculty. Let me tell you about just 4 of them. Kanad Ghosh, Department Chairman of Computer Science, been here for quite a while. Kanad is a brilliant scientist, computer scientist, and electrical engineer who has developed ways to remove heat from data centers. Sounds kind of simple. Put an air conditioner in there. Very complicated. And Kanad's work has developed some algorithms that companies across the world have come to Binghamton to learn about, and is now the director of an industry university cooperative research center with dozens of companies looking at this important problem for our world. Or I can think about Sarah Laszlo, assistant professor in psychology. Sarah is discovering what causes in the brain dyslexia. And if she can determine these causes, she has a great chance at finding the solutions to these causes. Or Ricardo Lermont, professor of political science, an expert in Middle East politics, and recently named a senior fellow of the Atlantic Council's Africa Center. Great guy. And one of our favorite authors, Maria Gillen, who writes poetry and has recently won an American Book Award. It's great to have those kinds of people here. Some young, some older, but they're here already. How do we take what we've already done so well and make it even better? And so last year, under the guidance of Donald Neiman, we developed the concept of transdisciplinary areas of excellence. The concept seems simple. If you're really good at something, do more of it. Well, first you have to figure out what you're really good at, and then you have to figure out who is contributing to that part of what you're really good at. And that process can take you a long time. It was very impressive last year when Don went to the faculty senate, went to some of the faculty leaders and said, give me some people who might be able to help me do this. And in a very short period of time, just a couple of months, they developed 5 transdisciplinary areas of excellence, and in that process chose leaders to lead a group of faculty underneath each one of these. And you know these folks: Wayne Jones, Terry Deek, Ami, Tom Dunna, and Pam Mission, each of them directing one of the transdisciplinary areas of excellence, but including with them dozens and dozens of faculty. So each one of these transdisciplinary areas of excellence has a team. The first one, directed by Wayne Jones, Smart Energy, has a group of faculty. I won't read their names, but I'm sure that you can see people on here that you recognize, leaders in their field as well as some of our younger faculty. Health Sciences, chaired by Terry Deek, and the group here, again, leaders in their field, spread across the university. Very important to recognize that these faculty aren't all coming from one single department or even one single college or school. They're coming from all the schools and colleges and many departments. Citizenship, Rights, and Cultural Belonging, chaired by Ami, where we have a breadth of faculty who are doing research in this, almost difficult to narrow it down to who should have been on this committee. Many people desiring to be on this committee, but moving forward in their planning. The material and visual worlds, from art to physics. The material and visual worlds, chaired by Tom McDonough, and a great group of faculty as well. And the last one, Sustainable Communities, chaired by Pam Mission. And again, a long list of faculty. The list of faculty isn't there to be read, but the list of faculty there is to kind of give me some scale. The number is close to 60 faculty involved in these committees. And at the same time, all of those committee members are participating in searches. They're helping searches that departments are running for faculty searches that might be associated with a transdisciplinary area of excellence. So traditionally in academics, the department says we want to hire a faculty member, and that department starts the search and hires a faculty member that they would like to have. What we're doing is we're providing just a little bit of outside help, guidance, participation, so that when they recruit that faculty member knows that, hey, there's a whole neighborhood here of people who do things like me, who do research like me, who teach classes similar to the classes that I teach, and I want to know who they are. And so when I'm on campus interviewing, I'm not just sitting around with my department colleagues, I'm sitting in a group of faculty who are from other departments, who are telling about the wonderful things that are happening there. It actually improves the recruiting process. And so this year we have 55 searches underway. 38 of them are associated with TAEs. If you take a typical search committee of 5 to 7 faculty, you multiply that by 38, I'm not going to do that in my head for you, but they added to the 60 before, it comes to just about 50% of the faculty right now. In just 1 year since this concept started, 50% of the faculty now are involved in hiring our faculty in a completely new and different way. The second thing that I want to talk about underneath strategic priority number 1 is the concept and the desire for us to grow our graduate programs. Last year, almost a year and a half ago, we initiated a request for proposals called the Graduate Growth Initiative. And we got some great ideas from several departments across campus. We ended up with 6 that we funded and a 7th one that's being launched soon in the areas of information systems security, health systems engineering, electrical and computer engineering, just expanding their current program, tax accounting, biomedical anthropology, and a new one that's is going to be approved, we hope soon, is in sustainable communities. This is important because as we look to the future, we know when we compare ourselves to other schools, and I'll get into that much more detailed later, that we are small as a graduate institution. And we need new ideas and new programs and expand our existing programs to become the premier public university, period. New big idea. When I got here, I said, we need a pharmacy school. Somebody said, don't we need a law school? I said, no, we need a pharmacy school. We need a school that takes advantage of the great research that's occurring on this campus in the area of pharmaceutical sciences. Whether it's in biomedical engineering or biology or chemistry or in psychology and neuroscience, we are doing research around the edge of pharmaceutical sciences, which is probably one of the hottest fields of research right now. We needed to add that. At the same time, we know that many of our undergraduate students go on to get a doctor of pharmacy. And that doctor of pharmacy is still a very valuable degree, great job opportunities across the entire country. And so we've made a proposal, we've sent it to SUNY, it's now on its way to the state education department. And just recently the governor said, you might need some money. Here's $10 million to get started. It's a nice way to get started, and a promise that he'll help us finish this building in a location in Johnson City, which is inside the town of Union. Always wondered why a city was a village inside of a town, but it's Broome. Works for me. And we're going to be there, so we'll have a university inside that borough, municipality, city, town count. And that's exciting. This is exciting. This has been the buzz in the last couple of weeks, and we know that we're going to do a great job over there. And we hope that we can be an anchor tenant there like we are an anchor tenant in downtown Binghamton. We also want to make sure we're great educators. We want our students, remember those 16,000 students, they're not just here to go to the library for our faculty members to do their research. They're here to learn. Well, we want our faculty members to be as smart as possible, so we're encouraging them to be great researchers so that when they come to the classroom, they're not just reading the textbook. They're telling them what they just discovered. And so we want to transform our learning community so that our students can learn faster and better, and that our teachers and our professors can teach better and better. We're good at it. How do we know we're good at it? Well, when some guy says, hey, I want to come to your campus to tell you that you're doing something really good, you must be doing it really well when it's this guy. So President Obama calls up, or somebody from the White House calls up and says, we'd like to come to Binghamton University and talk about the president's new education program. And we said, of course he can come. When, where, how, whatever you'd like. And it was a lot of work. We spent a lot of time preparing for the president to come, and it was an outstanding event. He spoke for an hour and 15 minutes, almost all just questions and answers, engaging our students and our faculty in a conversation, because he knew that he was at a place that was doing exactly what he was trying to tell the rest of the country to do. Be accountable. Deliver education at an affordable cost. And when you look at our statistics, we know our students graduate on time. We know that they're successful. Every one of these rankings out there, no matter which one you pick, there's probably 100 of them out there now, will show us as great graduation rate, outstanding freshmen, great success rate after, and very low debt at the time they graduate, less than $5,500 less than the national average in student debt. And the governor comes here a lot. In fact, I had someone do a little research. He's come to Binghamton University in 2013 more than any other campus, private or public, in the state of New York. Not sure why. Maybe he just enjoys the Southern Tier. Not sure if he's a Speedy fan, but he loves to come here because he knows that associating with Broome County and Binghamton University is a good thing. And when he comes here, he gives us things usually. Either a task or something in return. So if we're going to do this, if we're going to make this a transformative learning environment like the President of the United States and the governor thinks it is, we need some help. We need great leadership, and we had it right on our campus. James Petersey, a professor of mechanical engineering, a distinguished teaching professor in mechanical engineering, is now the new director of the Center for Learning and Teaching. James, if you know James, is a little enthusiastic about teaching. And if you don't get the bug from James about teaching, and teaching in new ways, and experimenting in your classroom, you're not here. But James has taken on this challenge and has accelerated it, teaching faculty how to flip their classes, showing them how to use different technologies. We've moved staff into James's area from EdCom and from the Center for Training. And James will be working his way across the entire campus to improve our learning environments. Certainly our laboratories we're always trying to make our laboratories, whether they're digital or wet, or chemistry or physics or biology, the best they can. And things like this in the Fine Arts building are the kinds of classrooms that we want to have across the entire campus. We've got other great things that are happening on campus for our students. I'll just talk about a few of them. Undergraduate research. We've always had undergraduate research, but recently we've made an emphasis to make sure that our undergraduate researchers are recognized and that they're put forward for scholarships and fellowships, and that we have a concept called research days now every year. Some examples, Sarah Davis, who is a researcher in Lyme disease, looking at the demographic connections of Lyme disease patients, and Chris Bassin, who's looking at how to improve the success rate of transplants, an undergraduate, and a Goldwater scholar in biomedical engineering. And our students are really smart. In fact, there's a group of them called the University Scholars that are so smart they're kind of scary, if you've met some of them. And their leader, their boss, their chairperson is Bill Ziegler. Bill has made the University Scholars Program a premier scholars program, entering 100 freshmen each year. It's in his third year being the director, and it's an outstanding program. Also, our entering freshman class, even though it continues to grow, continues to improve in quality. The 3-point SAT average score being over 1,900 now, 400 points above the national average, is an outstanding figure that we have, and we know that we'll maintain it, and I'm certain with our new admissions director, Randall Edouard, we'll probably exceed it this year. And graduate applications are up. We're strong at the undergraduate level, but people are starting to hear more about us at the graduate level. And graduate applications are up 23% last year to this year, as well as enrollment. The fall enrollment in 2013 was 10% higher than the fall enrollment in 2012. And that's going to be very important as we move forward. We also have to find some resources for our faculty and our graduate student researchers. They're the ones who are doing a lot of the hard work, so how can we help them? Certainly, as we're adding more faculty, we have to bring them on board with the tools that they need. And we've invested $7.5 million per year now in investments to get them here, plant them in their laboratories, make sure that they're going to be successful in that very early period, whether they're a senior faculty member, Ming and Natalia here, or whether it's a junior professor like Sarah Laszlo. We also know that we have to recruit the best PhD students that we possibly can. And they come from great undergraduate institutions, and they're being recruited by many other places. And in order to do that, Provost Neiman last year created the Doctoral Research Fellowship Program, a significant increase in the stipend to the best graduate student applications that we have in many of our departments. And we've seen it be successful in its first year, and we're going to continue to do it. And we'll be investing almost $4 million per year when it's fully built out. Strategic priority number 3, make sure that our campus is diverse and inclusive. We know we're diverse. I mean, we can measure that. And we have diversity numbers that are comparable to our peers. But are we inclusive? Are we perhaps even better inclusive than our peers? Well, what is inclusive? How do I measure inclusivity? How do I enhance it? How do I manage it? And that was certainly one of the priorities that came out of the roadmap process. And so the first thing we said is we need someone to take the leadership role in this. And again, it's great when the people are already there. And so asking Valerie Hampton to become the Chief Diversity Officer was the logical step in making sure that inclusion and diversity had its seat at the top table at the university, being the Chief Diversity Officer. She needed a team. We added to her the diversity officers from each of the divisions, as well as moving the Multicultural Resource Center into the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and directed by Nicole Sergiu Johnson. They're now launching the Campus Climate Survey. It will be coming out in about a month or so. Sean Massey's been helping to develop it, and we encourage people to take it when it comes out. And when you think about diversity and inclusion on campus, you always think about Randall Edouard and the Educational Opportunities Program, shown here with his small group of students, probably at the end of a semester or the beginning of a semester, welcoming them to campus or sending them off. Randall is an outstanding contributor to making sure that this campus is diverse and inclusive. Impact. That was strategic priority number 4. And we have an impact in a lot of ways. We have an impact on our community. As I said before, we have this large economic impact. But what have we been doing recently in terms of that impact? Well, we're downtown, in downtown Binghamton, and we're growing our student population. And when we grow our student population, we grow our faculty as well, faculty and staff. And in the last 2 years, 2 admitted classes, just 24 months, 1,300 more students, and 100 more faculty and staff into the community. Well, if you took that as a business model, and I don't want to say that as a business model, but those of you from the community and our elected officials do worry about the business aspects, the regional economics of what we're contributing. That's like bringing a $30 million a year company into the region. It has a $30 million a year impact on the region from students living here, taking classes, living in the community. So we're having that local regional impact. But we're also a great place to have fun. Carrie Buck singing Chinese opera, or Grace Vickers driving home a spike in a volleyball game. We have a lot of great things to do on this campus, whether it's in this venue or in the event center or one of the smaller theaters. And we really want people to come on this campus. And I think we're as inviting as we possibly can, although we probably need more parking, I know, but we will be as inviting as we possibly can, even within the constraints of parking, to come see people like Grace and Carrie. And the governor, in one of his frequent trips here, signed the Startup New York legislation. Startup New York, people have heard about it. It's an opportunity for new companies to come from outside New York State and to land inside of New York State, bringing their employees, their products, their revenues into New York State, and they will be tax-free if they're put somewhere near, close by, or on State University of New York property, whether it's at Broome Community College or it's at Binghamton University. A great opportunity. We're still inching up on it. We've got our plan in. It's been approved. We haven't signed on with any companies yet, but we are investigating it, especially around some of the opportunities that we have in the region, such as in Endicott and in downtown Binghamton. And as the governor, usually he brings something and then he takes something away. He asked me to be the co-chair of the Regional Economic Development Council, which gives away across the state about $750 million a year. And for the last 2 years, we've been called a top performer in this process. And so the southern tier, the 8 counties in the southern tier, win significantly more money than those other 5 to 9 regions in the area that don't get classified as a top performer. One of the projects this year was pretty important to us, and the picture kind of depicts undergraduate research, that undergraduate research opportunities on campus can be expanded if we think about product development as part of undergraduate research. And so the grant that came through the Economic Development Council process of $750,000 will allow us to equip undergraduate research laboratories for freshmen and sophomores that could get them to start to think like an entrepreneur or an inventor in the future. And certainly the $7 million given last year in the REDC process and the $6 million additional dollars that we've raised to build the incubator downtown at Hawley, Carroll, and Lyle Streets is another example of how we can have an impact, an economic impact in the region. But impacts are broader than that. Impacts also mean that we are a destination for people, not just coming to performances, but coming for education. More than 2,500 of our students are international students, and it adds vibrancy to the campus, diversity to the campus, and really makes the campus an exciting place to be. That's a 13.6% increase in just 1 year. Again, we are becoming a destination because of our high quality. Because as you get bigger, more people know about you. We also have about 16% of our students who study abroad. I thought this is pretty good. 16%, 1 out of 6, that's pretty strong. In fact, the national average of students in higher education is just 1%. Now, it's across a very large denominator, but it says that we're a significant performer in this. And we know we can do better because we can create relationships that perhaps other places don't have. For example, this new program that we launched last summer with Samsung in South Korea, where we send 9 students from Binghamton University, undergraduates from Binghamton University, to Seoul, Korea for a 10-week experience working for Samsung all expenses paid, travel, living, as well as a salary, so that they can be an employee for Samsung for that summer period. And we've got great alumni. 110,000 of them. Hard to keep track of all of them, but we know one of them is now a U.S. Congressman, Hakeem Jeffries. But on top of Hakeem's great success, we've got 20,000 engaged in alumni. That means they either came to an event, they volunteered for an event, they made a donation, something within that 20,000, they've done something in the past year for us. Specifically, they've given us some money. $13.5 million in donations in 2013. That's a nice number, but the number I like better is that more than 12,000 of our alumni last year made out a check, processed a gift to Binghamton University. And that's important. 12,000 fans out there that we hardly communicate with other than probably an email every day and a brochure in their mailbox every other day. But we love them, and we want to keep engaged with them. I get exhausted at this point. You start to think, how'd you get all that done? I don't know how I got all that done, but I know that I have great people who make sure that a lot of it gets done. And when you step back and you think about it, well, how do you manage all these things at the same time? You have to have a great group of people who can manage projects, manage resources. And so the fifth strategic priority is about resources. How do we allocate them and how do we acquire them? How do we manage them? And I'll just talk about it briefly. Probably the most important one is during the legislative process for SUNY 2020, we got the SUNY Predictable Tuition Plan. Modest increases in tuition to catch up to our peers so that we could hire the faculty that we knew that we would have to have in order to meet the growing student population. So the Predictable Tuition Plan was certainly important, managed skillfully by the Office of Administration. And each year, $14 million more in tuition allocation comes to Binghamton University through the state government process. And that allocation is important for us to hire our new faculty. Oh, as part of that, we've also made the agreement, I should not have forgotten this, we've made the agreement that any student, as we raise our tuition, any undergraduate student who is not able to pay through the standard assessment procedures, is not able to pay that increase, we do not charge that. And that's a $2.4 million allocation in helping to support access for those students who are economically disadvantaged. And we're hiring faculty. We're hiring a lot of faculty. 93 tenure-track faculty hires in 2 years. 93 tenure-track faculty hires in just 2 years. 55 searches underway, of which I said 38 are associated with transdisciplinary areas of excellence, but 55 meaning some are growth and some are replacement. That is helping us reach our goal of growing our faculty net by 150 over the period of the 5 years in SUNY 2020, which is 30 new net faculty per year. And we're ahead of that target already. We're 67 after 2 years, and we'll probably be close to 100 after our third year. And we're building new things, beautiful things, outstanding new things, LEED certified, platinum certified. We have the new marketplace, we have the Shenango room, we have the Center of Excellence, and we have the East Campus housing. And we're almost done building, but perhaps the next set of buildings will be elsewhere, downtown Binghamton, as well as in Johnson City. But the construction on this campus, I think, has been an example of how we do things well, on time and on budget. And we got a new front sign. I love it. Great process that we went through to design the sign, build the sign, and it's a metaphor as well. The old sign we had there, I'm not going to criticize, but it looked like you were coming into a campground. Binghamton, KOA. We got a real sign now. People know they're at a premier university when they come past that sign. But if you think about it, it's next to a road, and we've got a road map, and you don't only drive in, but you drive out. And so you think about, where does that road lead? What direction are we going to go in? When you come out, are you going to turn right or are you going to turn left? So we have to make that decision. This is what we've done in the last 2 years, and this is what our plan is to do in the next 3. And I'm going to talk about enrollment because I think it's a simple thing to talk about. Areas of excellence and transdisciplinary gets kind of complicated, but just talk about enrollment for a little bit because it has such a big impact on everything that we do. As I said, from 2011, 12, 13, we slightly exceeded our targets for growth in enrollment. And as we look forward, it looks like we'll continue to grow at that same pace. Actually, it's a slightly decreased pace because we did so well in the first couple of years. And why do we grow? What happens when we get bigger? Some of the alums that I meet say, oh, don't get any bigger, and change your name back to Harper College. Call it the men's gym and the West gym again, or the women's gym. We can't do that. Private universities can do that. They can stay small, but a public university has to meet the demands of the population and has to help society. So I'm going to give you 7 reasons, at least 7 reasons, you can probably think of more, that what positive things can happen when you grow. First, it becomes a catalyst for research, education, and outreach. More faculty members doing research. It allows us to teach more classes. Every faculty member we grow, we add on top of the rest of the faculty, teaches 4, 5, sometimes 6 different classes in an academic year. So adding more classes and in more fields. That's a good thing for our students who are selecting from sometimes a limited number of electives. It allows us to increase our visibility and our recognition. Our faculty, through their research and through their travel and through their publications, build an international reputation based on that research and those publications. And that visibility and recognition is critical to recruiting the next set of faculty and recruiting the next set of great students. It allows us to hire more faculty and actually at the same time lower our student-to-faculty ratio thanks to the rational tuition plan. That we can actually now hire faculty at a faster rate than admitting more students. And that, again, improves the ability for faculty to better balance, in the way that they seem optimum, research and teaching. As we talked about the transdisciplinary areas of excellence, that's also important because now as we add faculty to those areas, that excellence allows us to grow to the critical mass that we would need to do things that we might not have been able to do before. And I think the best one is that our alumni get more and more proud. They like Binghamton to be big and to be powerful and to be recognized and to be seen. So I think just those reasons alone say, yes, if you can get bigger and you can get better, do it. If you can only get bigger by sacrificing quality, don't do it. But I think we've proven to ourselves in the last 2 years that we can get bigger and get better at the same time. But then we have to make a decision. Where do we grow? Where? The word where. Where do we grow? 2 different things, 2 different topics here. Where do we grow in terms of enrollment? So we have to choose whether we're going to grow our students at the freshman level, transfer level, graduate student level, master's level, PhD level. We could grow our undergraduates. We have lots of applications, 29,000, 30,000 applications for our undergraduate students. We could admit more of them and grow at the undergraduate level. But we know that that certainly might lower the quality of the freshman class. And we're a landlocked university. There's not many more places that undergraduates can stay on campus, especially when they're freshmen and sophomores and they want to stay on campus. We could grow at the doctoral level. That's really important because doctoral students publish, go on to great academic positions, and build your reputation internationally. PhD students, really good ones, are expensive. You pay them their salary, you pay them their tuition, and in return they do some teaching for you, but they're expensive. But we know that they're critical and that we need to grow there. What about master's degrees? Master's degrees don't bring you a lot of reputation. However, it's a service to our undergraduates who, when they graduate, they may say, now what do I do? Do I have to find another degree? How am I going to find my career? I'm an English major. I love to write. How can I find the right next step in my career? Should I get a master's degree? So should we grow at the master's level? Okay, that's where enrollment-wise, but where do we grow physically? Now we have 4 options. First option is right here on the campus, Vestal campus. Probably not. We're getting pretty crowded here. There's not a lot of extra room, especially after we finish the East Campus housing. Maybe we can fit 3 or 4 more classrooms over by the lecture hall. What about downtown? What about adding new buildings downtown? Well, we certainly have already said we're going to do that. We're building the downtown high-tech incubator at the corner of Hawley, Carroll, and Lyle. We could expand even further down there. I'm sure that there's opportunities that the mayor would like us to consider. We could grow on the other side of Murray Hill at our ITC complex. And in fact, we have a plan right now to build another building there called the Smart Energy Building. But at the conclusion of that construction project, we're probably done there as well. And the newest opportunity, and my new favorite restaurant, the Red Robin Diner, which you can see a lot from, in Johnson City. And Johnson City has a lot of opportunities for growth if we want to do it there as well. And if you look at the map, actually a shorter drive to Johnson City than it is to downtown Binghamton. So where do we grow? How do we make a decision about these balance points? How do we figure out where we're going to balance the enrollment growth and the location growth? We have to have some kind of a method when you're going to make these decisions, so we grab the top 10 public universities in the country. They're there. I think you recognize them. Berkeley, UCLA, Wisconsin, William & Mary, Virginia. And if we just looked at them as a group to compare ourselves to, take their average numbers, and we look at their enrollment, they're a lot bigger than us. Average enrollment, 32,000. Our enrollment right now, 16,000. Twice as big as us. Twice as big as us. But notice the difference in the size of the green part of the bar. There are 30% graduate students. We're less than 19% graduate students. We are not doing what they're doing. Now, I've told people I don't want to chase the premier publics out there. I want to define what premier is and get there. But this difference is something that we need to address. So let's say we didn't grow our undergraduate population, or we grew it just slightly through improved retention, and we stayed in that 13,000 to 14,000 student enrollment category, but we tried to get to the percentage of graduate students that our peers are at. That would mean that we would have to have 30% of our students be graduate students, which would mean we'd have to have 20,000 students total, 6,000 graduate students, and 14,000 undergraduates. That's where we should be. That's the right balance point for us. And getting bigger is better. And getting bigger at the graduate level is even better because they have a much more meaningful experience leading to their careers. So 20,000. It's a round number. It's the year of the horse. Might as well pick an aggressive target. 20,000 students. So we have some ideas. How do we get there? We have our Graduate Growth Initiative. As I said, we have 6 of them on board, and we're adding another one. That will help us grow in certain areas that we already have and perhaps some areas that we're just adding around the edges. We have our new pharmacy program and Doctor of Pharmacy program. That'll add about 300 students over the next several years, well before 2020 hits. We'll also have increased funding for graduate student research assistants as we hire more faculty in areas that have grants and contracts that support research assistants in the laboratories. And we're going to have a growing base of teaching assistants because we're going to be expanding our enrollment. We'll have more money available to hire teaching assistants to help with teaching of the larger enrollment. But those 4 ideas, while they're good ideas, they're just incremental. We need a big idea. All right, I got one. These guys know me. That's about how long it takes sometimes, but we got one. And we've been talking about this. I've been talking about this for 2 years. And every time I say it to someone, they say, that's a good idea. Somebody should do that. And then I tell somebody else, and they say, that's a good idea. Somebody should do that. Nobody has said to me, oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that for you, Harvey. So I'm going to have to do it. Get it started at least. Get it rolling down the hill. And I'm going to call it something that will not be the final name of it. I'm going to call it the 411 program. And it's going to be obvious when you hear what we're going to try to do here. But we know from our surveys, our exiting surveys, our seniors, when they graduate, are still looking for jobs. Almost half of them, at the time of graduation, are still looking for a job. And I don't care if it's in liberal arts, humanities, social sciences, or engineering, or school management, many of our students have not found jobs. And what do they do after that? They go home. What do they do when they get home? They think, what should I do next? The first thing that they need is experience. And the second thing that they need is probably more education. And so what if we were to think about that time period after an undergraduate finishes their degree as a time where we can blend more, at a higher level, blend advanced academic work and experiential opportunities. It really is being done when you look at most of the professional schools. If you look at social work, public administration, public health, rotations, pharmacy, rotations into experiential opportunities is part of the degree requirement. But it is not part of the degree requirement for many other fields. It's not a degree requirement for engineering, for example, or computer science, or the sciences. It's not a degree requirement for social sciences or humanities. Why not? Why not create a graduate program or add a feature to all of our graduate programs, not changing their curriculum, not changing the coursework, but add to those programs experiential learning opportunities. They're educated, they're 21, 22-year-old folks, they know how to write, they know how to speak. These would be paid internships, certainly, and they could be spread across a 2-year master's program. They could be 3 months at a time, they could be a summer, a semester, like the undergraduate co-op programs at many universities. Although we won't use that term, it allows students to build their resume and build their experiences, and at the same time adding a credential, this master's degree, a traditional Master's of Arts in English, a Master's of Arts in Political Science, that then will be added to the value of those experiential opportunities. I think this is a good idea. And if everybody I've told so far has told me, hey, that's a good idea, somebody ought to do that, and now you're going to tell me it's not a good idea, I want to see you afterwards. Because we're out there on this one. But it's not up to me. I don't think I can design this more than just explain it to you that simply. There's probably a lot more details, and I've got some great people who can help me with details. We need some help. Certainly we can go around and we can talk to the firms that we already have relationships with that hire our students. They might be willing to help us with interns. We can talk to our local support, some of the agencies, the municipalities, and they can help us with some of these internships. But the big call is on our alumni. We have 110,000 alumni, very successful alumni spread across the globe. 20,000 of them are engaged with us every year. We're going to offer them assistance in their careers. We're going to offer them one of our interns to help their careers, their company, their agency get even better. And pay them. Certainly we want those students to be paid interns. But our alumni, if we can reach out to them, how many students do you think we could place? 500? 1,000? I don't think that would be very hard. We've got 110,000 alumni. So the possibility of using our alumni to make this program work is real. But again, I need some experts in this field, and so I've asked several people to pull together some ideas and to come out with a pilot project this fall in 2014. Everybody knows Susan Strahl, the graduate school dean and professor of English. Susan will be chairing this group. I've also asked Dean Laura Bronstein to be on this committee. Laura is the Dean of the College of Community and Public Affairs, a social worker by training, and certainly understands experiential learning. Brian Rose, who's our Vice President for Student Affairs. Randy McGuire, who is a professor in anthropology, and Dean Ann McCall from Harper College. This team is going to be the core team that will put the details behind this concept. They'll be bringing in students, staff, alumni, a lot of people into the process. But from these 5 people, I'm going to be asking them to develop a program and a report as soon as possible. If we're going to grow, though, let's put some numbers out there so we make sure we can see the faculty and staff growth plan. To grow by 3,000 graduate students, to grow to 20,000 students total, we're going to need to add about 180 faculty. We'll need to add about 100 staff members. We'll have to add about 180 teaching assistants. We have time to do it, and as I've said before, as we do this, we're going to be improving, lowering the student-to-faculty ratio through this process. We've already proved that we can hire at a fairly fast rate, and I think we can do that. And in the end, and I'm not going to repeat those 7 reasons, we will get bigger and we will get better, and we'll have greater global impact. So, 20 by 2020. That's the slogan. 20 by 2020. Can we do it? Do we want to try at least? Do we want to think about it? Can we grow to 20,000 by 2020? Well, I think anything's possible. I really do. The last 2 years I've been amazed at what we've been able to do. So I really believe that it's possible.